You know, if you've ever worked in DevOps, you absolutely know that feeling, that late-night deployment that just goes completely sideways. Well, today we're going to dive into one team's incredible 10-year journey on AWS from that exact kind of manual chaos all the way to automated mastery. This is the story of how they truly architected their own evolution.
All right, take a look at this. Does this give you just a little bit of heartburn, that late-night, high-stakes, please-don't-break kind of deployment? Come on, we've all been there, right? This is exactly where our story kicks off, in that familiar place of manual work and just hoping for the best.
And this was the ritual. It was almost a ceremony. A developer would literally SSH into a live production server, drag and drop, or manually copy over the new files, restart a few services, and then just cross your fingers and hope for the best. It was slow, it was incredibly risky, and it was just not scalable at all. Every single deployment was a potential outage just waiting to happen.
So, to try and fight back against this chaos, the team entered their very first phase, what they called the age of scripts. The thinking was, hey, we can automate this. So they started writing all these bash scripts to handle bits and pieces of the process. And look, it was a step up, for sure, but it was a fragile one. These scripts were often inconsistent, really hard to maintain, and really just a band-aid on a much bigger problem.
Okay, so here's the roadmap for the whole journey we're about to cover. We're starting with those early, clunky scripts. Then we'll move into their first real pipelines. After that, we'll talk about the growing pains and, the missteps they hit while trying to scale up. And finally, we'll land on the modern platform that really changed everything for them.
Right, so by the mid-2010s, the team had a big realization. Standalone scripts just weren't going to cut it anymore. They needed a workflow that was structured, that was repeatable, and that was automated from end to end. This was the dawn of their first true pipelines, a genuine new hope for their entire delivery process. And this slide just shows the difference so perfectly. I mean, it was a night and day shift. They went from this error-prone, super risky process where nobody knew what was going on to an automated pipeline that was repeatable, way faster, and a whole lot safer. For the very first time, all their deployment logic was centralized and version-controlled, not just living on some engineer's laptop.
So what was the secret sauce here? What made this new approach actually work? Well, it came down to three crucial things. First up, pipeline as code. This meant their entire delivery process was now code itself. It was versioned, it was auditable. Second, dedicated environments. So now they had dev, staging, and prod, which let them test things safely without that constant fear of breaking everything. And third, manual approval gates, a simple but absolutely critical human checkpoint to prevent any accidental deployments from slipping through.
But you know how it goes? As the company grew, so did the complexity. This is when the team entered a new, really challenging phase of scaling, and let's be honest, some serious missteps. The solution that had worked so well for a handful of services started to crack under the pressure of dozens.
Now, this quote here, it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the feeling in the building at the time. Each team built their own custom pipeline, and they evolved into these unique, handcrafted, and unbelievably complex beasts. The technical debt wasn't just in the application code anymore. It was now deeply embedded in the delivery process itself. This all led to a really critical aha moment, where they finally had to stop and figure out the root cause of all their pain. And the problems became crystal clear. Every single pipeline was a unique snowflake, which made them impossible to maintain. Nobody had clear visibility into what was being deployed where. The tooling was all over the place between different teams, and all of this just created this massive daily friction for the developers who were just trying to get their work done.
This realization forced a total shift in their mindset. It was a huge change. They stopped thinking about building individual, one-off pipelines and started thinking like a platform team. The goal was no longer just to automate a deployment for one team, but to build a centralized, self-service platform that could empower every single developer in the company. Now, a key piece of tech that made this whole shift possible was GitOps. The core idea is actually pretty simple, but it's so powerful. You basically think of your Git repository as the single source of truth, the master blueprint for your entire infrastructure. You declare exactly how everything should look right there in Git, and an automated process is constantly working in the background to make sure your live system matches that blueprint. It's really infrastructure as code on a whole other level. So this thinking led them to create what they called golden templates. Instead of every team struggling to build a pipeline from scratch, the new platform team provided standardized, pre-approved templates. This was a game changer.
It massively reduced the cognitive load on developers, it made sure security was baked in from the very beginning, and it created a consistent, paved road for everyone to follow.
Their decade-long journey really offers a powerful lesson for all of us. They didn't just build a new system, they built a completely new way of working. So, what does this all mean for you? Well, we've distilled their entire journey into a clear modernization roadmap, turning all their hard-won lessons into an action plan you can actually use.
It really just breaks down into 3 simple phases. First, automate. Just get rid of every single manual step you possibly can. Seriously. Second, standardize. Stop letting every project become a unique snowflake. You have to create those golden paths. And finally, empower. Build a platform that lets your developers serve themselves safely and efficiently.
And that really brings us to the end of their story. And maybe the beginning of yours. Whether you're still stuck in the age of manual scripts or you're wrestling with those complex, handcrafted pipelines, your evolution starts right now. The only question left is, what's your first step going to be?